Just so everyone knows, this is going to be live streamed
through YouTube.
Through YouTube for people to watch. So if everybody can kind of mute until they need to speak, that lessens the feedback when somebody's talking.
All right, we're going to call the insurance committee meeting to order. I'm going to turn it over to PJ Keeler.
Thanks, Chairman. As you know, at our last insurance company meeting, I had stressed the need that we find an insurance broker as our current contract expires the end of July this year. We had an initial discussion with Marshall Sterling. There were some additional questions that the committee was looking to get answers for. Discussed some of those with the representatives from Marshall Sterling, and I think they're here today to kind of clear it up and also discuss some of their findings and what they propose to kind of move forward. So I'll turn it over to Bill.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, PJ. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for everybody else taking time out of their busy schedules to join us today. Since our last conversation as a group, Sean and I have had continuing conversations on with PJ and his staff, Michelle Fuchs. They did a great job feeding us information, filled in the blanks for us. And we put together basically a 4-point proposal for you today. And this is a talking point. This isn't anything formal. We want to have a two-way conversation. And I'll throw it out there. And then, of course, we'll always handle your Q&As. But as PJ said, and we heard this loud and clear during the first meeting and with our conversations through the weeks and months with PJ and now with including Michelle, is it seems to us right from the beginning that you folks do not really have a strong relationship with your current agent broker. And that relationship is winding down at the end of July, as the treasurer just said. And what we would like to do at Marshall and Sterling is to come in and fill that void and basically bring to the table that, you know, our experience, we're a company headquartered in Poughkeepsie. Many of you know us. We've already provided you all the Muni references that we do business with here locally. And to take steps so that we could actually get the tires hitting the runway is we would like to provide the treasurer with 2 broker of records for the 2 carriers that you had. And what that does is at the date that we designate in the letters, we are designated as the broker of record, and it would be with Capital Indemnity and also National Safety Group. And the moral of the story is, without having control of those relationships, which your current broker has, we will not be able to explore all the intricacies of your current policies. So the first step we would like to do is get agreement through you, the committee, and we don't expect that today. We know you have to internally discuss this, but we would like to come in and become your broker of choice. And then I'll lay out why we think we should do that. And it's always because of the relationship. And everybody that's on this call today is an owner at Marshall and Sterling. We're an ESOP company. Sean's an owner, Katie's an owner, Luann's an owner, Chris is an owner, and myself. So you have accountability with us that, quite honestly, it's been obvious to me that you haven't had with your current broker. So the broker of record would be the first step for us to take control of the relationship with the carriers. Just to let you know, we do have relationships with both these carriers. So that's a good thing. The second thing is we want to eliminate as much disruption with PJ and his staff and getting access to those policies and having a two-way conversation with the carriers would eliminate any, let's say, effort on your point, PJ. We would take it from there, I guess is the best term to explain that. And then we have already gathered information from the other carriers that already play in this market. Because as PJ and I talked about, the one goal that we all have is to maybe end up with unsettling pricing. So we can't really predict what the pricing is going to be at the end of July or August or in September in the marketplace. But what we can do is we can put them in a competitive situation where they will compete against each other for your business. And you're in an excess coverage with your self-insurance program. So the bottom line is there isn't dozens of carriers out there that do this, but the people that do it in the industry, we have strong relationships with. And once we brought the existing relationship over with the carrier, then we would start an application process that would allow us to go to the other players in the marketplace and you know, I guess I'll say pit them against each other and get the best deal possibly for the county. So we've already spoken to them. Then on the loss control end of it, we are asked, you know, what are we going to provide? PJ had mentioned that through the months and years you have not had, you've been probably charged for it, you have budgeted for it, but you haven't had real training and safety and compliance support. And I'm going to let Katie talk to what she currently does with a lot of the munis in this particular marketplace. But I want to answer one question that you have is, how do we get paid? Well, we're going to get paid by the carriers. So they're the ones that pay Marshall and Sterling. So the premium that you pay to the existing carrier or any new carrier will pay us. They will pay us. And then because of the fact that you hit certain thresholds at Marshall and Sterling with the size of your premium, Katie services and our loss control is included in that. Okay, and I want to emphasize that. So if you come over to us, there's not going to be additional bills coming at you. And I want to be clear about that. So with that said, Katie, I'll introduce you one more time and maybe you can talk about what you think that we could offer these offices in Columbia County. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having us on the call. My name is Katie Pagano. I'm the Director of Loss Control at Marshall & Sterling. Really, we have a large variety of services that we offer. It's really in the insured's hand as to what they take advantage of. And just as Bill had noted, it's at no additional charge. We have OSHA compliance programs for you all. It would be more along the lines of PESH, but very much they fall along the same lines there. So we'd be able to help you with all of that. For municipality, and because there's so many departments and divisions and so many different needs, we really like to start typically with some type of meeting, whether it's with the safety committee or the different department heads, and get a look at documentation. So different manuals, policies and procedures, anything that we're going to look for compliance in to make sure you guys are meeting all of the necessary requirements. And then specifics, depending on the division or department we're dealing with. So that's typically where we start. We're not coming in to try and revamp everything. If it's working and it's not broken, then that's fantastic. You know, one less thing we have to work on. But we are there just to really act as a partner with our insureds. We like to build that relationship and be a resource to them. So anytime there's a question or a need, whether it's, you know, training or legislation or compliance, whatever it is, we're available. We're at your disposal. We do provide training. We provide a large amount of different training. So depending on the assessment we do with each department, we would figure out which trainings are necessary, how often you want them done. We'd conduct hazard assessments through conversation, also through the documentation you all have. We'd like to talk to the different department heads because everyone has a different need, you know, different employees, how they work, what they're doing. So I want to get a handle on the needs as they see them. You know, what do you feel like you want to add to your programs? What are you lacking? You all know better than I do, you know, and then I can come in and say, all right, well, you know, you're missing this or this, whatever it is. We'll offer recommendations. And then, as I mentioned, it's really in the hands of the insured as to what they want to do with that information. We're not the carrier. We're not, you know, any federal governing agency that's going to come down with a big hammer, but we want to give you the information necessary to get you in a safe place for liability purposes, work comp purposes, all of the above. So we do as much as you want, you know, but we're always there to conduct inspections, you know, go to work sites, whether it's, you know, paving jobs, road work, whatever it is. We have the capability to do it. And as I mentioned, we're at your disposal. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. As I mentioned, there is a lot we can do, and we are a presence. We aren't there a day and say, okay, you know, here's your information and this is what you have to do, you know, good luck. You know, we're there to walk you through the entire process and be there as you need it, really. So.
Thank you, Katie. So we talked about, excuse me? So we talked about the broker relationship. We talked about what Katie and her team can bring to the table. And then the last thing that we'll talk about before we have Q&A is the component I think PJ was talking about when I got on the line, and that is the TPA portion of it, what USI currently does. And I'm going to let Sean discuss that, but we have, and you have choices of TPAs. And without any further ado, Sean, would you like to discuss that with the group?
Sure thing. Good afternoon, everybody. The TPA component on this is something that obviously is quite important. Michelle made this very clear to us in our meeting that we had with she and PJ early on. One of the things that we feel confident with is that we have dealt with TPAs before and have introduced them to various markets and counties that we currently insure. So to give you an example, I mentioned at our last meeting that we have Rockland, Schenectady, Orange counties that we currently have the excess workers' comp program with. All three of those have three different TPAs that they deal with. And it was up to them to select whom they wanted to work with based on their particular needs. So that is something that we will introduce you to PJ and to Michelle, and they can do an interview process with the three TPAs and make a selection with them as to again, however their needs are met and needed. And frankly, the programs that Michelle is accustomed to right now, because she was very frank with us and told us that currently the program with USI is one that does meet her needs, that she's very comfortable with, and they provide a certain level of service that they feel is quite valuable to them, to PJ and to Michelle. So we are confident that the players that we will bring the same level of service, the same value. What we need to determine is which one is going to meet your needs best and what their particular fees for those are. It is pretty common, from a fee-based standpoint, that they all are within a certain ballpark for the fees, again, dependent on the particular services that are provided and requested. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Greatly appreciate it. So really, that's the four bullets that we wanted to get across to the committee today, is that we want to jump in and fill the void that you currently have with your broker and the relationship void that you have with your current broker. The value add part is bringing in the risk management and the loss control help that Katie can bring to you. And then, as Sean says, we'll introduce you to the variety of TPAs in the marketplace. It's ironic, we found out by doing this research that every one of our counties that you all probably have relationships with do things a little bit different. They tweak things a little bit different. Their coverages are a little bit different, and they are all currently using all different TPAs. But we will make those introductions and make that link and that hookup and continue on with our support. And lastly, I just want to say that, everybody that's on this call, Sean, Chris, Luann, and Katie and myself, when we come in, you get all of us. And we will be covering for each other. So you will virtually have 7 and 24 coverage from Marshall and Sterling to the county. So I just want to emphasize that to you, that we just don't bring our full force during a presentation. Once you come on board, you have us as your full team to help and support you. So that's basically what we had to say and get across this afternoon. And I can shut up now and answer any questions or any questions that you might have for Sean or Katie or any of us.
Okay. PJ? Or Art?
Yeah, I just had one question about the third-party administrator. The Bill, when assuming you become our broker, are you the third-party administrator as well, or do you help us find one?
Art, the answer to that is no, we are not the TPA, but we are in the position to help you find one. And we will gather up the best candidates that are doing it for other counties in the marketplace and bring them to PJ's store for them to do a presentation with PJ.
Okay, does that mean that we may end up with USI then?
This would be a yes, but I doubt it.
Ken, couldn't hear Art's question.
The question was, does that mean USI could
Bill,
be
you're gonna
in
mute
the hunt and we could be considering them again?
Sean, do you want to talk to that a little bit?
Yes. That's absolutely an option that is available. And although having said that, that's not something that I can speak for USI. I can speak on their behalf, but certainly they do that as a standalone basis, and it's an option that, as I say, would be available.
Okay, thank you.
So how wide is the range for PBAs? Are there 3 of them? Are there 6 of them? Are there 10 of them? What kind of a pool are we looking at?
The pool that we would draw from would be one that we are currently familiar with. As I indicated, we have the 3 counties that have TPAs that they currently work with. So we would introduce those 3 to you. After that, I think it would just get a little bit redundant. Having USI in there as that option as well gives you 4 to select from, and each would present their services, their value, and what they bring, and would present their fee-based cost and and then you could make a comparison for the cost of their services as well.
Are there any other questions?
I just have a couple questions, and you would certainly help us through that process, correct? And make some recommendations as well?
Yes, PJ, we would certainly, to the level that, is necessary, we'll be involved. As I said, we're making the introductions. We will have conversations with the TPAs prior to introducing them to you and letting them know what current level of service you're receiving now, and confirm that they can provide that same level of service. So we would certainly do. Ultimately, though, the decision would be up to the county and to the officers to make that decision as to who they specifically want. And I would think that Michelle would probably give a lot of input on that, because it appears that, to me at least at this point, that she's the one that's most directly involved with the current TPA.
Correct. Assuming that you on board as our broker, how much lead time do you need to get quotes from the insurance carriers?
Well, we would look to get the broker of record letter signed sooner than later, as soon as possible. Starting Monday, which is June 1st, we will then have a 60-day period. We would start our negotiations and conversations, discussions with the carriers that we've identified, including Safety National, including Capital Indemnity, to start preparing for the, for the renewal and their proposals. There is a lot of, I have to be very honest, there is a lot of, I don't want to say turmoil, that's too strong a word, but the marketplace right now is in a flux. And so I think it's very important to be able to look at what's available out there and options from a carrier standpoint. I did have direct discussions with a fellow by the name of Tom Fitzgerald at Safety National, and his comment to me was, quote, when I asked, would they be willing to entertain a broker of record letter, and are they willing from a renewal standpoint, looking to continue their relationship with Columbia County? And his response to me, unquestionable, that we would absolutely want to continue the relationship with the Columbia County, and we would certainly accept the broker of record recognizing Marshall Sterling without any concerns. Have done.
Sean, you mentioned that Michelle would be involved in the decision.
Decision, but
That's not Michelle, that's Michael.
No.
No, it's Michelle Fuchs
Oh, Michelle Fuchs. Okay, so
from the
sorry.
treasurer's office. That's okay.
no worries, no worries. Again, I only got the sense based on our meeting that we had that she was quite familiar with the services being provided
She is.
by USI.
Yeah, she's pretty familiar. Not only does she do it in my office, but she's had previous experience through her other employers as well. I just would like you, in our conversation that we had, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, we have been working at this workers' compensation through certain insurance carriers. Again, I had kind of inherited that, and we've always used that moving forward. It goes back several years. But can you explain to the committee, without getting in depth, because we won't choose these options yet, but there are different options into how to operate this workers' comp?
That is correct. So currently, your self-insured program, workers' comp has two coverages. Coverage A, which is the indemnity and medical that is provided to the employees, and coverage B, which is employer's liability, which works very similar to general liability. That although in New York State, employees cannot sue their employer, there is a clause that if it is due to very gross negligence on the part of the employer's liability comes in. Currently, you have a $5 million limit on coverage A with multiple self-insured retentions, and a $2 million limit on the employer's liability with a $1 million self-retention. There is a Capital Indemnity does respond part to that. Without seeing the full policies, we can't make the determination yet as to whether Capital Indemnity comes in after the full limit retention and limits are exhausted through Safety National, or if they fill the void for the $1 million for Safety National. But once
They fill the void, Sean.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So that answered that question. So again, those are the coverages that are provided there. Again, the limits along with the self-insured retentions and the carriers that are involved with that.
Hey, Sean, I think maybe PJ wanted to even mention briefly like what some of the other counties are doing and what's their structure. Maybe you could lay that out for the committee. I think PJ was indicating that also. If you could just give an idea what some other counties are doing.
Sure. I guess, and I think I've mentioned before the specific counties. I don't always like to get into specifics about it on a client, but I mentioned at our last call, we had 3 different counties 4 counties, all have different programs. One of the counties has a first dollar program, meaning there is no self-insurance, there is no self-insurance. They use a carrier that provides coverage from $1. which is the traditional way that you would find in most businesses, whether you're a local Main Street business or you're a large contractor manufacturer, it's from $1 for both coverage A and coverage B. Then we have counties that have self-insured all the way through without any carrier exit, without any exit workers' comp carrier, just like Columbia County. So, the first is insured by the county, and then after that comes the excess workers' comp. Nothing like that. They just insure all the way through from $1 all the way forward. Then we have another county that has different self-insured retention, and the coverage A part, which is the medical and indemnity. The only part that's self-insured is the indemnity part of it. The medical they have from $1. So that kind of gives you a flavor for the multiple ways that we can do this. So we can pick up after we do a total review, look at the costs, determine various options, whether we want to increase, decrease the self-insured retentions, and put them into play based on what those particular costs are.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just want to interrupt for a second. Brenda, if you need to speak, you have to hit *6 to unmute yourself. We had to mute you because we couldn't understand Sean.
With that said, is there anything you need me to repeat?
Everyone good?
I think you're good. PJ, so what would you like to come out of this meeting today?
Well, I'd like to have a recommendation from the insurance committee that we move forward with Marshall and Sterling as our broker, because like I said, time is wasting here and it's just about June 1st. And you can see how much work we have ahead of us.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I didn't hear any of that, Art.
I'll make the motion.
I would make that motion.
I'll
All right.
second.
Art's making the motion, second by Rob Lagonia. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
So Matt, this needs to go to finance today.
Yes.
Okay. And then full board isn't until June 10th.
Okay. June 10th is full board, Bill. So that would have to be.
Okay, what we'll do up to that point is we'll work with PJ behind the scenes, Matt, and get the documentation together for him to sign when he's comfortable signing it. Okay, and then we'll immediately start, like this afternoon, we'll have conversations and immediately go to work. But we'll coordinate with PJ from here on out to get the broker records drawn up and in his hands. And the only thing I'll say to you now, PJ, is what we'll need is just the policy numbers for the two carriers, and we'll get them in PJ's hands ASAP, and then we'll wait what you guys, if you need a formal vote on it, we will be working behind the scenes, but then you can give us the official go ahead, and we'll have the tires on the runway by then.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
get that information to you, Bill.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
So
you.
Matt, if we do a special board meeting before the 10th, could this be on that agenda?
We can, if we schedule one, which we talked about earlier, it would probably be the 4th of June, and we can add it at the 4th of June, Art, if we have everything done by then.
That would be good. Thank you.
Okay? Thank you for reminding me. Well, is there any other questions, any other business? Okay, with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks. Rob Livonia, second.
Second.
Art Basson, all in favor?
Aye.